Hello my friends, today we will take a look at the legendary Canon 50mm F1.8 STM prime lens, and I will specifically try to evaluate how does it perform on Sony A7 III with Sigma MC-11 adapter. So we will take a look at the build quality, controls, optical characteristics and the autofocus to find out whether this lens is worth using on A7 III if you have one just laying around, or whether it is maybe even worth buying one for the A7 III. 50mm is very popular focal length. On the full frame it is suitable for things like street and travel photography, environmental portraits, and generally the situations where you might want to put some emphasis on the subject, but also give the shot a bit of context. So regarding the build quality, the 50mm is kind of famous for its plastic construction, so it indeed feels very plasticky, but it feels quite solid. It actually feels like you can just throw it to the bottom of your backpack, leave it there, and it will survive. The mount is fortunately metal. It is not weather sealed, of course, that would be too much to expect. But again, due to the pure simplicity of the design, I actually expect it to survive some abuse. It is almost a pancake lens. It is really tiny and light, so it won't take up much space either. It only comes with a lens cap. It has very common 49mm filter thread. The lens hood is unfortunately not supplied with the lens, but you can buy it separately. Regarding the controls, there is autofocus/manual focus switch, which is the only way to switch between autofocus and manual focus when using this lens on A7 III. Of course, there is also the focusing ring. This lens uses focus by wire system, so the ring is just coupled with the autofocus motor, but I quite like how it works. The turning distance is long enough and the resistance is also reasonable, so the manual focusing with this lens is quite good, especially if you use focus peaking and focus magnification. I'll be using this lens with Sigma MC-11 adapter, and I will also test it with different adapters later on. But with the MC-11, the fitment is very good, and even with the adapter, the size of this setup is quite small. The aperture control works, but in the video it is not smooth, so it does flicker. The metering works without any problems. Both autofocus single and autofocus continuous work with this combination while shooting stills. You can also choose wide focus area, where the camera will choose what part of the frame should be in focus. The center focus area, where the camera will use 15 focus points in the center of the frame, or flexible spot, where you can move the focus point using the joystick or the touchscreen. The autofocus is actually reasonably fast, although definitely not as fast as with new native lenses. Sometimes it hunts, especially in low light, but it is generally usable for non-moving subjects in relatively well-lit scenes. Surprisingly, the face autofocus and eye autofocus works as well. Unfortunately, the autofocus in video doesn't work at all. It won't focus on anything, so we have to use manual focus. The focusing unfortunately makes some noise, which may be picked up by shotgun mic even when using manual focus. Regarding the optical qualities, with 24 megapixel sensor in A7 III, wide open at f1.8, the central sharpness is already very good. The contrast is also decent but not great. But the problem is that the vignetting is quite extreme at f1.8 and the corners are soft. There is also a lot of distortion, so I recommend using f1.8 only if your subject is in the center of the frame and you want to blur the background, and I also recommend using profile corrections in editing software. At f2.8 there is less vignetting and the corner sharpness is somewhat better. The central sharpness is still very good. At f4 the vignetting disappears and the corner sharpness is significantly improved. The sharpness is further improved at f5.6, and at f8 and f11 the sharpness across the frame is the best, and the image is actually very sharp here with good contrast. The diffraction appears only at f16. Regarding the colors and specific character of this lens, I actually like the pictures taken with this lens, especially if you stop it down to f4 and further. I can't really say that it stands out in any way in terms of optical qualities, but the pictures still look good, Even the rendition of out of focus background is decent, considering that it only has 7 aperture blades. So overall, the Canon 50mm F1.8 STM is quite nice lens with decent optical characteristics. It works well with Sigma MC-11 adapter, especially for stills and in good light. The manual focusing is okay as well. So overall, I think that it is definitely worth using with Sony A7 III. And if the A7 III took up most of your budget and you already have an adapter, it might even be worth buying for the A7 III because indeed it is very cheap, although there certainly are superior 50mm lenses out there. So that's it for this video. Thank you for watching. I hope that you liked this video and that you found it to be useful. Stay tuned for more videos and maybe consider subscribing if you don't want to miss my future content. I appreciate your feedback in form of thumbs up or thumbs down. If you would like to ask anything or share your opinion, please do so in the comment section, and see you next time.